Good morning. As Bill said, I am a community organizer. I'm also the executive director of a regional coalition working to bring economic and racial justice and stability to communities outside of Philadelphia. And I've been on the team of people helping to create this project up until this very exciting time of launching it into something that we're all creating together here in this room. It is my honor to introduce to you Dr. Darya Funches this morning. Dr. Darya is many things. She's a consultant to leaders from all walks of life, from Fortune 500 companies to church organizations. She's a change agent's change agent. She's a consultant's consultant, a visionary's visionary, a transformer's transformer, and much more, as we all are, right? For over 30 years, Dr. Darya has been doing pioneering work in helping individuals, teams, and whole systems achieve breakthrough results. It was in working with Dr. Darya myself that I saw patterns that were holding me back as a leader. With her, a light bulb went off that uncovered a pattern that had me paralyzed with fear, powerlessness, dread, and anxiety. And with Dr. Darya's coaching, I was able to release that pattern and to tap into my own power. Thinking of how together we can excite and change not only personal patterns, but whole systems patterns, is what inspires me about being here today. In Dr. Darya's presence, we are invited to be open, to accept the idea that transformation is possible. And to recognize that we as individuals and as a part of larger systems, organizational systems, systems of injustice, the system that is the city of New Haven, that we in fact can transform. Dr. Darya.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I tell you, after Bill's statement, I'm beginning to think that if we're successful by the end of today, or the end of tomorrow, or the end of my talk, we'll all be a bunch of babies, big babies, in wet diapers. Because we'll be looking forward to change, including change, especially, and most important in the world of change and transformation, we'll be looking forward to transforming ourselves. And I say that's most important in the world of transformation because when you think about it in change, everybody's usually going, fix her, fix them.
Right.
I got it. I understand. But if you would just take care of this group, bring them to my level. Bring them to the understanding that I already got. What's wrong with them? Why don't they get it? Because from where I'm sitting, I already got it, right? So I want to explain a couple things to you about this little talk and experience. If you're wondering why you're sitting on this, there are different points in this conversation where I will ask you about a yes or no question. This is yes. This is no. This is proceed with caution. So that just to take the mystery out of that. So that's what these are for. And it'll be a while before we get to that. And I want to make sure I don't go over, so I have to turn my watch on. Okay. Transformation. In this bit of time we have together, I want to talk about some concepts and do some of that as quickly as I can. Have you share some of the experience of those concepts, and also hear some of your questions about how this applies to you in your organizations, in your communities, in your mission, in your vision. How many people are leading organizations that are involved in some major change or transformation? Woo. Okay. How many people want to be? That was the rest of the room. How many people think this is a spectator sport? It's not. It's not. I was born in Mississippi. I tell everyone just a couple things about me so you know the context in which I come from with this work. I was born in Mississippi in 1949. Don't start subtracting. And it was at a time when blacks could not be born in a hospital in Mississippi. I was born in Sunflower County, Delta country, B.B. King country, and was there for all of 6 weeks. So I came in on the note of change. They snuck my mother into the hospital, and that's a long story we won't go into right now. But anyway, but she had a cadre, doctors who agreed to sneak her in, and a bunch of nurses who almost had a heart attack for this occasion. But many of us have something in our history that tells us about the signature of change that is written on our souls. Tells us. Mine came in my birth story. Yours comes some other kind of way, maybe in your birth story. But it gives you that signature that's already there. The thing that you're always waking up to more and more, that you're committing to more and more, that you're learning how to walk in more and more, how to stand in, how to live in, how to be. And that is a process of becoming true transformers, even though what I want you to look at in that process is what it really means to do it, and have you look at that reflection in your own life, in your own choices, in your own consequences, so that there's a commitment as you go through these 2 days, no matter where you are now, to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All these things we're talking about require freedom. Freedom. Freedom, political freedom, spiritual freedom, religious freedom, freedom of speech, economic freedom. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about creating the consciousness of freedom. Sometimes we don't even know we're trapped. So what are we transforming? We're transforming programs. We're transforming patterns. We're opening those doors to deeper and deeper consciousness. I call this talk, and I have a book that's coming out on a primer on transformation, and it's Phoenix and the Butterfly. I call it that because those are two symbols that tell us what? A lot about transformation. And I'm not trying to discriminate. The frog, the salamander. I mean, we got some other examples in the biological world, okay, to learn from in terms of transformation. And that's part of what we're supposed to be doing, is not just learning from each other, but learning from all of life, what's around us. And I don't hear many people aspiring to be the caterpillar. Not that there's anything wrong with it. The caterpillar comes first. The caterpillar comes first. But the butterfly, we recognize what? We project some things on the butterfly that probably aren't even in its experience of freedom. Butterfly is trying to survive. That is why the butterfly is going spot to spot. Has a short life. And is working hard with every moment to survive, to do what it takes. So to become that butterfly, though, that is a commitment to what? To go in, to vision, to focus, to shed old things. Some of us talk about transformation, but we don't want to let go of anything. A lot of organizations talking about change, but they don't want to let go of anything. I want you to do this, and what you were doing. Deeper cuts. Everybody's talking about deeper cuts. Deeper cuts requiring what? Deeper change. But we get to a point where we can't just change. And I'm going to be talking about the difference between change and transformation. The phoenix is another symbol that's powerful for us to pay attention to. How many people know about the phoenix? All right, so the phoenix is a firebird. And the power of it, people say in the myth that the phoenix comes once every 500 years and then is replaced, basically is reborn from its ashes. But who's around for 500 years to know that was the phoenix? But the story goes, and it's a powerful story, that the phoenix builds its nest, takes its belongings into this nest. In some cultures it's in an oak tree, in some places it's in a palm tree. But there are stories about the phoenix in Africa, in China, in South America. All over the world there are stories about this mythical bird. And that with these belongings in this nest, sets itself to fire. And gives birth to itself again from the ashes. Now some stories say it gives birth to its son from the father. Well, that would be a miracle too. Okay. It depends on the culture, right? What the story is. Right? But the power of it is to burn something, let go of something, to destructure something that has served its purpose well, to honor it, to consider it, to appreciate it, and to let it go. And to be able to regenerate from the ashes. So the phoenix is a bird of flames. In some stories, it travels, and this is a journey, travel to the sun. And I would say that there are some of us who have to take this journey in order to fulfill our destiny. In order to fulfill that destiny, that is written already in your soul. You can't get just laying back playing Wii. Ain't nothing wrong with Wii. Cloning for the Matrix. It's just that if we do this extra piece of work for our own destinies, even that which is written, we still have to earn. We still have to earn the right to. So if you've been given that dream, you've been given that calling, you've been blessed with hearing or seeing or dreaming the dream or having the compelling desire to make something happen, we still have to earn it. So what is it that I am going to set up and fire, even if I have to do that? I might just go the way of the butterfly. I might not have to go on fire. I might just have to go into a cocoon, go into a focus. Might have to go into some deep learning, some deep focus, some deep study. Not that I've never studied before, But saying I already cleared this, or I already healed this, or I already studied that, is like saying I cleaned the house last month. I had a transformation. It was in 1972. It was mind-blowing. Yeah, I had some drugs, but that's okay. No. This is another, it's not like I had one transformation and that's all you get for life. You know? So in this journey, if we're talking about becoming true transformers, we have to begin to recognize that we're committed to do what it takes. And sometimes it's the journey of the butterfly. Sometimes it's the journey of the frog. Sometimes it's the journey of the phoenix. And whatever it is that's required of us in this time, because it's no accident that we are here at this time. We're born in this time to bring forth those gifts, those visions, to do that work that we are doing or about to do. Yes, that's fine. And transformation can sound appealing, even to those of us who aren't babies in diapers yet. But I love that line, though. I'm going to tell that story. But it can also be frightening. And it can be exciting in the beginning and frightening in the middle. So we'll have an opportunity to take a look. We're going to be talking about what is transformation, what it's not, some things I've learned in my research and work and consulting and studied with transformers, true transformers, and then help us look at the question of how deep do you go? Do you need to go? Do you want to go? And then I'll share a few things with you about this system of transformation I've developed, and have you look at yourself through the lens of 3 gifts that transformers carry. And if we are fortunate, we'll get a chance to do some demonstration of some of these ideas and have us end up in a place where we are even more committed than we were to conscious co-creation of a whole new world. Of course, starting locally and starting with me. In the dictionary, they tell us to transform means to alter the form or outward appearance of someone or something. Well, you see what it is. I don't have to read it. But I don't think that's enough. Do you? We need a practical definition. And the reason I don't think it's enough is this. We so often use the word transformation. You know how it is, a word gets popular in our culture? And I really find it unfortunate that some words get so popular that they get misused and they lose the impact of their meaning. And it's like a perfectly good word before. Like avatar. It was a perfectly good word. It meant the embodiment of the divine. It's a very precise, distinct word. Now you say avatar, people want to know you're talking about a software program, the movie, the game. No. Right? But, I'm telling my age, I know. Okay? So practically speaking, transformation is a movement from one reality to another. In my research with active transformers, I found out that one of the things that comes up all the time is it appears suddenly. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, working at it. People use the term all of a sudden. And then all of a sudden. And then out of nowhere. And then out of the blue. Now, if you're the one working on the transformation, you know it wasn't all of a sudden, okay? But that's the way it's experienced. And it's fundamentally different than the previous one. The butterfly does not look like the caterpillar. In that other definition of transformation, You know, you could put a tattoo on your face and it could be called a transformation. Right? Because it would have just altered something on the physical level. So, and it's discontinuous. It's like a leap from one reality to another. People remember the movie The Matrix. You can tell I'm a movie buff. Okay, movie The Matrix. I think there's the line in there when Lawrence Fishburne is talking to Keanu Reeves and he says, you know, I can show you some things. I can't tell you what the Matrix really is, but I can show it to you. Now, do you want the blue pill or you want the red pill? And I think they used the wrong symbolism on the color of the pill myself, but nobody asked me. You know, I think in this case, the blue pill, you take it, you'd see whatever you saw, you wake up, you wouldn't remember anything, and you go back to life as normal. And he said, if you took the red pill, I promise you one thing, and that's the truth. You'll see the truth. And you'll see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Basically what he's saying, you'll see who you really are. You'll see how the universe works. You'll see how the matrix works. You'll see what the programming is. You'll see what you bought into that's not real, and you see what is real. So, you know, this is an opportunity. When you do transformation, it is another world. It's a world where you get to see the truth about the programs and about the patterns and how you fit in it. It's a world where you get to see a vision and what may be limiting you from bringing that vision into reality, collectively and individually. It's a world, the transformation world, is a world where you can go to the West and learn how to destructure, release, tear apart, let go of whatever needs to be let go of. Go to the East, learn how to step into something that's new. Go another direction, learn how to dream the dream. Go into the North, learn how to dream the dream and to hear the call of your ancestors. Go into the South and learn your innocence again and how to regenerate yourself from the ashes. You learn that you're in a sphere, how to work with all directions, how to draw from above, below, within, and from what's all around you. Transformation is a world where these shifts can happen consciously. Because I would have said you take a blue pill for the truth, for the value of true blue. Like I said, they did not ask me. So when you're doing this transformation work, and we're going into transformation, it's fundamentally different ways of seeing, knowing, and being. In the studies that I did, there were the folks who, because I had to include some of everybody so I could have something to control against. There were some people who really, I think, were status quo agents. They weren't transformers. And each of us has probably been somebody who was trying to guard the status quo. Where you were trying to hold on to things the way they were, you didn't want it to change. And then there were folks who were aspirants. They were exploring. They were testing. They were learning. They were applying, but they hadn't committed fully yet. And then there are the folks who are the wannabes. I'm talking about it because everybody else is talking about it. But I'm not doing anything. Try having one of those for a client. Why transformation? Why should we bother? Why not just do change? I've worked with a lot of folks who, and here are the comments, and tell me if any of this is familiar to you. When people don't really want to have much change take place in the world, we don't have to make too many changes. There are so many people who like us just the way we are. We can just catch the low-hanging fruit. Do you know that phrase? Just catch the low-hanging fruit. Now, there's nothing wrong with, I'm not saying you should go down and chop down a tree if you just need a few twigs. But you have to have the sense of what is really going on? What is really called for? So speed and complexity in our world today, results orientation in high, I think I'm done. That was my buzzer. In high stakes environments, total systems orientations, silos don't work anymore, we're all aware of that. But in how many organizations have we gotten to the point where we're seeing and acting as a whole, as opposed to about our silo? So the depth of work that we need for sustainability and accountability and regeneration, those things call for transformation. And the final thing that calls for transformation is the fact that you can't get there from here. Trying to do incremental change in a situation that calls for transformation is chasing something that you'll never catch up to. You can't get there from here. And that is one of the most difficult things for people to recognize. So how deep do you go? I say how deep is the riverbed, how deep is the ocean? And how deep are the roots of the mountain? You go as deep as you have to. And one of the first concepts that I developed to go with this was to look at 3 levels of change in culture. Down there at the bottom, those are all assumptions, those are the beliefs, that's everything that influences the current reality. We used to have this notion, keep your hands off my attitude. Keep your hands off my beliefs. Remember when that was kind of the notion of how you dealt with things in organizations? You could tell me what to do. You could tell me what was okay behavior. You could tell me how to perform. But you can't really have a legitimate conversation with me about assumptions, attitudes, and beliefs. Well, now we've progressed a little bit. We realize that that's what makes up the culture. We realize that if we don't engage in that in a community, then we can't make any fundamental shifts. And we have to know how we're a part of co-creating that culture. I can't tell you how many change agents I've worked with who feel that they can't be themselves in their own organizations. When I say, well, can you come in and really be yourself in this organization? They're looking at me like I'm stupid. Why? Why did you ask that question? That's a stupid question. Of course I can't be myself politically. I have to do this. So if as a change agent you're not willing to be authentic, then you're part of co-creating the tyranny of the lie. That is the culture you're talking about having difficulty with. So this is really a call to look at our own ways of seeing and knowing, as well as those of the organizations we're working with, communities we're working with. I had a fun experience yesterday. When I go someplace to work, I like to, if I have time, to bounce around a bit. And I was doing some errands, so I'm here in New Haven. And let me just ask a question, a little poll right quick. How many people would say New Haven is mostly future-oriented? So, proceed with caution. Is it the live streaming? No. How many people would say New Haven is primarily oriented to the past? And it's a here and now city? I don't know. How many hands say I don't know? Okay, all right. Okay, this is the right answer, crowd. All right. What context? What do you mean? We're just having fun. You can say anything. There's no wrong answer to this. Well, I began to wonder if it was a future city because yesterday I was looking for an iPod. And I was on foot, so I went to different places looking for an iPod. and I went to all these different stores, and of course, I know some of the problem was my accent, because a couple times people sent me someplace for an iPad, and I said iPod. And so, but each place I went didn't have one. And each place I went that didn't have one told me that there would be an Apple store soon. And that the Apple store would have iPods. But it wasn't here yet. And so I thought, okay, well, where might I find one? Oh, probably nowhere till the Apple store gets here. No, but everybody was very friendly, There wasn't any form of mistreatment. And I thought, well, this is really fascinating. I thought, well, maybe this is a, really future-oriented place, everybody's talking about the future, I'm asking, where can I get an iPod? Well, in September, you'll be able to get one at, and one person showed me the construction where the building is. And it was right next, to the Yale bookstore. So, but one really interesting comment, one person finally said to me, well, nobody wants to carry them because the Apple store will be here, and there's no point in having the inventory. And I thought, wow, well, maybe I'm the only person who wants to get one today. But I took a taxi out to Walmart, and got one. But there's so many. What I found in the city is such a mixture. It's so rich. The diversity is so and contained. It is and the people were friendly. I had every experience from stores where people would answer your questions, but they basically didn't want to do too much work at it. It was kind of like, are you catching me on my lunch break? Hurry up. Yeah, we have something that's over there, go get it. To people who were, falling over themselves, helping. I remembered things about the city that made me look at what are the wounds, what are the unresolved pieces, what is the wound that wants to be healed. It drew me to look at Amistad. It drew me to look at the richness of a history, of being a place where these non-slaves, these Africans were tried. People know the story of Amistad, right? I'm not going to. And I thought, what a unique place to have this history, this kind of contention, this kind of struggle for truth and freedom, to have this history. And then I turned on the news and I saw about the New Haven, is it the New Haven 20?
Yes.
And then I just had all of these, the firefighters, and reverse discrimination. And everywhere I was turning, there was this rich test of what do you believe? What is freedom? What is equity? What is justice? I mean, the voices about that exist all over the world, but not everywhere all over the world is this vocal, this contained, this articulate. Everybody is being asked, all ages, to do the music on the subject, to do the poetry on the subject, to do the science on the subject, to bring it to the square. What's the name of that square that kind of symbolizes everything that's in New Haven? The green. The green, right, Cornell? Yeah. So there you have all the segments. So as a transformer, if you look at this, you'll be looking to change this culture. We have to start with what are the patterns and what are the wounds that have to be healed. And what is our vision on the other side of that. We have to work at the root. How many people are involved in healing kind of transformation? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. We have to do the healing, but we also have to do the teaching. And we have to be warriors. And we have to be visionaries, all four. Can't just be one. You will get some handouts, so don't try to draw a picture. I mean, some of us are gifted like that, but I'm not one of them. So here's the model. Reflect and release limitations. Focus, so you can envision and engage the future. Activate and assimilate the vision. Position and produce the results. Sounds simple. It's powerful. You can do it. You can do it. How many people know they can do it? All right, and have done it. Now, you get better and better at this as a true transformer. Better and better and better at this. That doesn't mean that you can say, I did it in 1992 and I shouldn't have to do it again. Right? Take one of your index cards, please. And on one side, put some potential or vision that you have, that you want to create. On the other side of that card, put what things will be like, in your view, once you've brought that into reality. Yes?
Dr. Darya, can you repeat that, the second
Okay.
side of the card?
Second side is, what will the world be like, what will things be like once you have brought that vision into reality? Now, everything that is a limiting pattern is kind of like a grid that's blocking that vision from coming into reality. Can you see that? If here, there's a vision, and if here, if down the ground is actual reality, then there's this grid in between, like that card. Okay. So I want you to give just a moment to talk to the person next to you, or behind you, or in front of you. Nobody's next to you. What are the barriers between that vision and reality, in your view? It's only going to be about 3-4 minutes. About 4 minutes. All right. Anybody ready to give an example? You said, no way, huh?
Hello, everyone. My name is Geraldine Robinson. One of my visions that I have is to build a life scholarship. Basically, it's an endowment fund that gives funding for people who need to start off with financial literacy and knowing how to choose where to invest and everything. In order to get the scholarship, you must complete financial literacy classes. You must spend a $500 gift card that we give you at first on things that are beneficial for living every day. Once you spend it incorrectly, you have to take the classes over to get the scholarship. What this does for the world is it allows more people to be financially independent and have more access to financial freedom with regards to economics and knowing how to spend your money in the right places, and also choosing where you would like to donate and whatever you would like to do with your money. So that's what I would like to do. For youth and up. Like, it has to be like 13 and up.
13 and up. And did you come up with any barriers
Some of the barriers I would definitely have is money. That's the first off. You can't give out money without money, so that's one of the barriers. Another barrier is basically getting myself set up. I still am young. I still am in school. I'm still trying to get myself together. Another barrier would be to make sure I can gather a team to go into communities that have these kinds of problems, because you kind of don't have a lot of people who are like, I will go there and stay there and teach these people. You kind of have a lot of that going on still. So that's some of the barriers I do have.
Okay. Now, and of those barriers, can you see, you said you're still trying to get yourself together. Do you see any personal limit or way that you hold yourself back?
One of the things I do, I know I'm good at speaking, but I do not like to solicit help. Like, it's like, it doesn't match. That's one of the things I definitely need to work on. Like, I love speaking to people, I love being social, but when it comes to like gathering people, like to ask them, hey, come check out my idea, or hey, come check out this, it's like, oh, I really don't want to. They're not like over here asking me. I'm just gonna move on. That's the kind of thing I have to overcome. I think that's really big for me to work on. Also, another issue I have personally would be, I think I have a very difficult time with listening to constructive contributions to my ideas, because I feel like the person that's giving me the construction is not seeing my vision the way I see it, and I get so frustrated. So that's where I need to
And that happens to a lot of visionaries. They see it. They can smell it. They can taste it. It's real to them. And sometimes they have challenges. They don't mind envisioning, but they have challenges sometimes engaging others in that vision. Not trouble putting it out there, not trouble painting the picture, but sometimes for people to engage, they have to do what? They have to buy in, they have to make it their own, they have to have a piece of it. And I thought it was beautiful when you said, Geraldine, hey, yeah, they want to get into it, but they're not saying, that's not the vision. No. You have A, B, and C right, not E. E is not in there. You go do that somewhere else. I am my vision. So, that's it's a powerful thing for visionary leaders to be able to engage others. One of the best, we have many examples of visionary leaders to learn from. And I always suggest to folks who are really committing further and further to that, becoming true transformers, to pick some of those role models, historical role models, that really, that their life represents some of what you want to be able to embody. Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, on and on and on. And we have people in our own lifetime. Okay? Malcolm X. So you see what the world, so moving from a vision into physical reality, figuring out what these limiting patterns are, and being able to activate. And let me just say something about the limiting patterns. They are programs. A pattern has become another popular word that we speak about, but we don't really have clarity sometimes about what the program or pattern is that we're attached to. And when that phoenix goes to set itself on fire, that's part of what is being ended. That attachment to those things that came for a reason, but are now gone. And I think one of the biggest things that I can recognize and I can really drive home right now and think about ourselves and our programs and patterns is the fact that it's hard to grow and transform and also totally protect yourself from being hurt at the same time. And a lot of what gets in the way of the kind of growth and commitment that we want, that our visions call for, is us attempting to protect ourselves from failure, from looking bad, from looking crazy, from looking stupid, and from being hurt or wounded. And if you get down to it, you know, the protections that we're giving ourselves are often to avoid pain, hurt, or ridicule, or something of some not fitting. And a lot of folks I work with say, I'm already out there, I'm already weird. If I really go all the way here, I'm going to be even more weird, right? But then we find that there are others who are yearning for the very thing that we're trying to make happen. Okay. So this is powerful. And let me say what activation is. Activation is do it now. Activation is focused in terms of a few select things that really make that vision real. That's what activation is. It's not a 10-year plan. It's what can I do now to bring this vision into reality? What 2, 3 things can I do now that make it real? Okay? So it's a powerful movement. This conference, I'm sure, is an activator on somebody's list. Okay? All right. And then going to position and produce. You know, how are you gonna position yourself with this to get the harvest, you know, to get the benefits, but also to be able to regenerate, to adapt and change. Transformation, once you make a shift, is about continuing, sustaining, not the same level, but being able to adapt to the next situation. They used to say that the salamander could lose a leg and grow it back. And then you had a lot of little kids who were testing that out, cutting off poor little salamander's legs. You know? But that's part of the myth of the salamander, right? But we have the capacity also to regenerate in that way. And every now and then you run across somebody who does show that in their evolution, in their body. We're going to come back to this model again. But there are lots of principles and the reasons why this works. One is you reap what you sow. The other is co-creation. Everybody understand co-creation? We're always co-creating reality. No victims. No persecutors. We think we understand co-creation. It's a tough one. Because it's a key to freedom. If I'm co-creating this mess, I can co-create something different. I say, Lord, let it be me because I can fix me, potentially. What is it that I can? And so it's co-creation with one another, but it's also co-creation with higher powers. It's co-creation that we have an active role. And the balance principle, it's possible to heal what's come before. Not just within me, but in this community. What is it that you want to heal in New Haven? What is it you want to heal in New Haven?
Economic prosperity.
Lack of jobs.
Racial and economic disparity.
Violence. Creativity.
Perceptions.
These are things you want to fix, right?
Relationships.
What's at the root? What'd you say? Yale. Well, Yale is at the root. So you have to say that out loud.
Then Yale has to be part of the solution.
Right. Okay, so this would have to be thought of in terms of the co-creation Okay, so we have a name, so you say, you know, that's like saying, who's the problem? You. Okay. All right. So what is it? I'm just trying to get you clear about the program part, okay? What the programming is, and I'll take your question in a second. The programming part is that we have to look at what is it that happens and how others behave, how Yale behaves, and how we behave. That there's this collective, so what's the trigger, what happens, what goes down, what are the assumptions behind that? And then how do we all behave to come to a particular set of results that are repetitive? Because one thing that's clear about patterns, the powerful ones that have some limit on the visions we say we want to create, it's like being compelled. Working a pattern or showing a pattern or repeating a pattern is like being compelled to do something. Like that legislator who was compelled to call President Obama a lie. He didn't sit there and think about it. He was going to. It just came out of it. He was compelled. I mean, seriously, he was compelled. It just came out of his mouth. There are people who are compelled, you know, to do other kinds of really ridiculous stuff when you look at it in retrospect, but it comes out of a set of unconscious things coming to a head. People are just beside themselves. They are beside themselves that there is this president and they are compelled to say a lot of stuff that makes no sense, to do a lot of things that make no sense. But it's driven, and we make all kinds of justifications, but it's driven by, in some cases, some conscious beliefs. In other cases, a lot of unconscious beliefs. Yes, you have.
So, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so I have a question, and I hope you're taking questions now. How do you transform, because my inner barrier is blaming people for their position while I'm trying to help them. And if I'm trying to do this work, right, and the work is helping children survive long enough to realize their potential, but these children in the midst of adults who seem to be somewhat the problem, the root cause. So when you ask what are the barriers or what's the root of the problem, how do I not blame Yale or whomever or the adults and come from a love ethic in terms of how I do my work? Because when those questions are asked, because I want to transform myself in terms of not putting people at fault. Because that is counter to love, I think. So how do I negotiate that and still help myself in the process?
Okay, let me, I want to talk about co-creation in the context of what you just said. Because it's an emotional issue.
Yes.
And the emotional part of it is, I may feel bad when you tell me something that is truthful about my part in co-creating whatever the situation is. And if you take responsibility for the fact that I feel bad about the truth that you told me, about what your observation is of my part in co-creating this difficulty, then I just bribed you emotionally. I mean, because it is not an instant fix. It's a journey for me to take responsibility for my part in co-creating something in a family system, in an organizational system, in a community system. So if I am, let's say Yale, let's talk about Yale for example, if I'm accustomed to blaming Yale, but I'm not looking at how Yale couldn't keep this going if the rest of us weren't helping. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is you think Yale is doing, but I'm saying whatever the pattern is that Yale is a part of, we become accustomed to being the victims, and Yale is the tyrant. Okay, so because we are aware of the high privilege that goes with the status of being Yale, but we're not aware of the privilege that we carry as being one down. Okay, so we have to look at, what benefit do I get, out of this thing staying the way it is, and what is it costing me? What benefit is Yale getting, and what is it costing it? So that has to be a collective examination. In a family system, I think I made my point there about the way I heard you, even though you didn't necessarily say it that way. I saw it as you being affected by people feeling guilty or bad about the role that they play, or shutting down or not hearing. In other words, it's not about blame. See, co-creation gets often interpreted as being about blame the victim, or making people feel bad about their part, and it'd be easier if we could just find one person at fault. No, but this is about collective responsibility, especially when you're dealing with children. We got to look at who are the adults in the situation.
It's more about me blaming adults for the situation they find themselves in, which runs counter to really the work that I want to do if it's coming from a love ethic from me.
I don't think that love and pointing out responsibility are counter.
Okay.
Now, you're using the word blame, so I don't know what kind of language and what kind of affect is coming from, when you're talking to these people, so, and so, if there's something you're doing that's counter to the love, okay? And so, basically, the question all of us have to answer in this transformation process is, how can we love? Because love is the medicine that goes with this work. And what's our, one of the things I have for you to do at the end is, everybody needs an apology and a forgiveness practice. And I'm serious, I mean, not just for what happened today or yesterday, but the capacity to apologize for what your ancestors did to my ancestors, and mean it. The capacity to forgive you and your ancestors for what they did to me and my ancestors. Everybody needs the love and the capacity to do those things, and to do them in a way that is full of heart and compassion and truth. Because otherwise, we're just going to keep on paying each other back and being stuck. And that's not okay. That is a waste of spiritual and human capital. And it has to be real. It's not about one religion or one faith. It is about being able to come to a balanced field with each other, heart to heart. Should I keep taking questions? No. I got one, and then I'm going to go back to the content.
Thank you so much for this illuminating discussion. I really would like to refocus on Yale, because that's a very easy thing to focus on, and really refocus on the culture of entitlement.
Yes.
Where it's what we do to propagate that culture in our homes,
Yes.
everyday life.
Yes.
So blaming Yale is just an easy thing to do.
Yes.
But what are we doing
Yes.
to promote this oppressive behavior?
Yes.
What are we doing? Are we starting a victim culture, or are we actually being human beings? So if we can take it to that level, I'll really be very excited. Because I don't want to blame anybody.
Well,
We're all part of this.
Where I am with this, as you know, is not about blaming anybody. It is about the co-creation that we're all doing it. And so, that is the model, that is the system. What I want to appreciate the question you raised about the blame, however, and the reason why I do, and even the people who spoke up and said they thought Yale was at the root, is because if we don't name what our thoughts are about this, we can't have the transformation. So if we can't give voice to that truth, I mean, we're not going to end up at a place where, you know, it's this group's fault and that group's fault. But we have to start with where are we? So some of us are in that place where we see it's that group, period, okay? When I used to do a lot of diversity work, one of the things that was very difficult was that the pattern of the day was you bring everybody together from these different groups, and the message was to convince white male managers that they were the problem. Was that oversimplifying something? And I mean, I'm saying that was as if that was the, okay, and that if that awareness grew there, that then I'm talking about the 70s and it's, you know, and early 80s, and if that awareness grew there, then there'd be some movement in the organization. And I rapidly got clear that that was not the way we could do this work. You know, we had to do this work with treating it as a system where everybody had different roles and everybody had different power, but we had to look at how we were co-creating it. Otherwise, we would be stuck. Everybody would be sitting around waiting for the folks who you decided had all the power to fix something, which is a repetition of the same problem you had to begin with. So, yes, we are all co-creating this, and we can't sing that song and be in the victim place. We have to see that we have something here to shift. So the reason why this balance principle is so important to be able to heal, and the reason we got into it was I asked what was the wound that wanted to be healed. You know, what did you want to resolve? And you think about that not just in terms of Yale, but think about it personally in terms of yourself, not in terms of New Haven, I mean, but think about it in terms of yourself. What wound needs to be healed, okay, in order for you to make one more leap into this true transformation. The reflection principle, everything is out there is in here. So if it's out there in Yale, it's in me. And we're living in a very interconnected, holistic environment. So whatever it is I'm not liking over here, how am I also a part of it? How am I also showing the same thing? I mean, how am I elitist? How am I entitled? Where do I act that out? I'm sure you, somebody in your life knows that you are entitled in some category. And if asked, they will tell you. Okay? In some category, you're acting that out. Of course, they may not feel safe to tell you. Depends on how safe you make it people tell you the truth. And the harmony principle. Not to say that this is the planet Earth. It's got North Pole, South Pole. It's got tensions, just like New Haven. But that we have this design to be able to work in harmony. All things are related. And manifestation principle, we know about that. You can conceive it, you can make it happen. And infinite principle. Now, when I talk about infinite principle, some people think I mean you can just take all the oil from the earth and it's unlimited, everything. No, we already did that. We already tried to say unlimited. I can take all I want and it's okay. The unlimited principle, the infinite principle does not mean that. It means that if you want to reap unlimited in some area, you need to sow unlimited. If you want abundance, you need to sow in generosity. You want sustainability, you need to sow in terms of understanding the principles of how nature regenerates itself. You're going to go out and harvest herbs and medicine. And you don't go out and pick everything you see because you won't look at all the sage that's out here in this field. No, you go and pick a third and you leave 2/3. So it's a time for us to learn about how, and that way it always, what, replenishes. We learn how to have the waters replenish themselves, how to have nature replenish itself. We don't know a lot about living in that kind of infinite abundance because we fell sucker to what? We fell sucker to extract the wealth. You know, get all as much as you can now, and scarcity, maybe it won't be enough later. But we, you know, so just living in harmony in that way.
We fell sucker to money is value.
Money is value. Okay. All right. So transformers transform the self. I'm going to give you an exercise before I go into this part. And tell me, with one other person, 5 minutes, which one of these principles you need to become better at as a transformer. These principles are why the model works. All the transformers I researched have more principles than this they work with, but these are at least 7 that get covered. 5 minutes. Pick one other person. What principles you need to become better at? What principle of these 7 do you need to become better at? Did anybody think they needed to do a little more work with the balance principle? Press that. With the belief that it's possible to heal what's come before. And I want to, though nobody has spoken against it, I want to raise this myself because I know it happens a lot in working with groups and organizations who want to make transformation. Sometimes there's a part of us that doesn't believe that it's possible to heal major old stuff. Sometimes there's a part of us that doesn't believe that it's possible to eliminate racism and other isms. Sometimes there's a part of us that says, well, it's going to keep on being like this because they've been like this. Or, you know, the leader going to keep on being like this because they've been like that. Whatever. So sometimes there's a part of us, and that part of us, I think, is more coming out of the need to protect ourselves, love, and growth, and get organized around defending yourself from getting disappointed at the same time. Either you're going to have a lot of cells organizing for fight and flight, or you're going to have some organized for light. And so this is where we go deeper and deeper into that commitment to transformation. So I'm emphasizing the balance principle for that reason, that we can heal.